Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Tammi Mac Late Show on Fox Soul. I am Tammi Mac. Hey, what's up? What's happening out there in the world? Listen, while some men are comfortable settling down with one partner, there are others that monogamy is a myth that condemns the freedom of sexual gratification outside a relationship, which ultimately results in cheating or in ending a relationship. Are men really wired to be with just one partner? Or are they naturally inclined to desire to have sex with multiple women? Let's talk about that thing. Tonight, the business of being Black is, are men really meant to be monogamous? Please welcome digital content creator Soul. Hi, Soul.
How you doing today?
Relationship coach and matchmaker, my friend and a friend of the Tammi Mac Late Show, Coach Cass is here.
Hey, Tammi Mac. What's up, y'all? Happy to be here.
Media personality, co-host of the D.L. Hughley Uncut Show, and my radio sister, Jasmine Sanders. Hey, Jasmine.
Hey. Thank you so much for having me. Looking forward to this conversation.
Right? Astrologer, author, and Essence Magazine columnist, Sonia Marie is here. Hey, Sonia.
Hi, everyone.
And polygamy and relationship coach, Coach Nazir. Hi, Coach. Hi, Coach. You there?
Hey.
All right, there we go. So let's get it cracking. Why should Black people care about monogamy? Why should Black people care about monogamy? Coach Nazir, let's start with you. Or not. Either way, Sonia, let's roll with you.
I have a very simple answer for that. I believe it's preservation. I think that we should preserve a whole bunch of things. We should preserve the integrity of relationships. We should preserve the integrity of love and connection. We should preserve ritual and traditions. And I think sometimes the only way that you can do that is to solidify a family through monogamy. That's my answer.
Some people might question that. Some people might question that traditional part, but we'll get into it later on in the show, Sonia. Soul, why? Why should Black people care about monogamy?
I would say that Black people should care about monogamy because, if we aren't concerned about it, it's just going to cause further damage to the culture. It's going to end up in creating more single mothers. And ultimately, I think when a man isn't practicing monogamy, it's killing him, on a spiritual level.
Coach Nazir, I think you came to life here. So the question on the Tammi Mac Late Show, the initial question, the very first question we always ask is why? And so the question tonight is, why should Black people care about monogamy?
Well, caring about monogamy, I'm pro-morals. So whether it's monogamy or polygyny, and I think polygyny, of course, polygyny is the more natural form of marriage, if you will, but we should care about our morals in general. So marriage should be at the top of our list, if you will. Now, the type we'll get into tonight. All
right. Jasmine, you say what?
Well, I certainly think that you should care about monogamy. I am of a different opinion in terms of what should be a priority, I guess, in terms of a family. I can think of other things that are more important, at least to me, in terms of the preservation of the family. I think, not saying that it's not important, I think that it is important. I just don't know how important it is to me.
Monogamy, that is.
Monogamy.
Got it. Coach Cass.
So let me tell you, Tammi Mac, think about the days of slavery, right? And how our men were ripped away from the family, and then they ended up spreading their seed in so many different places. It's like it was a tactic to break us apart. So in order to bring us back together, Black people should care about monogamy, because that was the very thing that the folk tried to use to tear us down. So in order to build us back up, I agree with Sonia Marie to say, you know what, that's how we bring our culture back together. It's having the family together and the men in one spot.
So let's get personal off top. So have you ever been in a monogamous relationship?
I have, and the thing is, I got married to my high school sweetheart and spent several years, married together. But the thing is, it's not more about, I think what we need to really boil down to is men making poor selections in women. Because I found in my personal experience that when you choose the correct woman, it eliminates that urge to have to step outside of that.
But isn't sex for men a natural urge, a urge that can't necessarily be prevented by one species, in particularly, more specifically by one person?
It is, but I don't understand why a man has to step outside of that box. Again, if he chooses the right woman that checks all those boxes, that sexual urge doesn't have to go away. A man can have that sexual urge daily. But again, if that woman checks the boxes, he shouldn't have a need to step out.
Well, one of the interesting parts about that discussion to begin with is there's a whole false dichotomy going on. I mean, biologically speaking, if you say that if a woman or if he has that urge daily, the fact of the matter is a woman can't necessarily take care of that urge on a daily basis.
I can vouch to that. No, I can't take care of that urge on a daily basis. I'll tell you that right now. You might as well step out on me today.
So it's rather dismissive to think that a woman has to be defunct or missing something in order to want to desire to grow a family, a larger family. I mean, speaking just from a scriptural perspective, for example, when I was raised Christian, I heard that Solomon had 700 wives, 300 concubines. Now, of course, he was one of the wealthiest people that ever lived, and I don't understand how he did it, but it was something that was common during scriptural times. Not only when we look at the Black family today, I mean, the city I come from in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, we're looking at 80% of single parent households, mainly led by women, is thirsting and craving for a man of value who is the leader that can actually lead the family. Not to mention the other challenge we have when it comes to mass incarceration or being felons, of course, homosexuality, and being just fit when every 18 seconds a woman goes to the emergency room because she's beat up as a victim of domestic violence. So let's be real. It's not really a one-to-one thing here where our community is really lacking big when it comes to quality men of value.
True.
So to dismiss it as something as sexual is just insulting.
Yeah, but you got to think about it. There was also Solomon's downfall. It said that Solomon's downfall was because he brought in foreign women. And it wasn't talking about women from a different country. It was talking about women from a different frequency, different energy. And that goes back to showing that, a marriage is like a trinity. When two come together, there's God. So anything outside of that is foreign.
That doesn't go against your biological. Of course, I don't follow that belief regarding Solomon, but that doesn't go against your biological nature either way.
I still don't understand how one woman couldn't hold that down. And I know, several sisters I couldn't, the whole daily thing, but, the right woman can hold you down in that area.
Hey, so Janet Jackson, I'll give you an example of Janet.
I'm confused. So are you suggesting that the right woman can give you sex daily?
Or as much as you need? You got to think about that sexual desire comes back to how that man is. A woman is turned on by how, if a man is walking in his masculine, if a man is walking in his purpose, if a man is tied to his creator. So,
Now, I want to take this back a little bit because I've always thought that polygamy within the African tradition was about community and family and less about the sexual desires of a man, which is rather selfish, I must admit.
It is.
To tap into even before that and how colonization and all types of division has allowed us to believe that the patriarchal society is who makes the rules, who makes the laws, who is number one, who gets the most sex. So in my mind's eye, I think that we've all been duped. I think that we've all been duped to believe. Now, I'm naturally not a man, obviously, but the thing about it is I think that we've all been duped and conditioned to believe that, yes, a man does need sex 5 times a day or 5 times a week, whatever the count may be. And we should kind of go back as an individual to actually tap into what it is that we need, what our needs are, what our soul needs are, what our biological needs are, not what society tells us, not what culture says, not paying attention to all the boobs and the booty that's on the screen and having every man have to respond to that because you're a man? Mm-hmm. See, that's where I get it twisted. Like it doesn't.
And if I could step in here for just a second, I actually agree with Sonia Marie. And just to clarify my statements at the very beginning, it's not that I don't believe in monogamy. I just don't think that anybody was meant to be anything. I think it is a misnomer to say that men want sex more than women. Who came up with that? How do you know? Did you ask a woman that? I've dated men before who didn't want sex as much as I did. The other issue I have is that we boil down relationships and marriages to just sex, and that is what sustains them. My grandparents were married for 75 years, okay? And they had 9 children who produced, other children that eventually, and obviously I was one of those, well, sort of. But the point is they stayed together for 75 years. Was my grandfather a cheater? Yes, but he still took care of the family. He still did what he did. So to me, it's more about, if you're going to boil down a relationship to what makes it last is sex, I think we're dead from the beginning.
I thought you were about to say, was my grandfather breaking my grandmother's back? Yes.
Listen, he was if he had 9 kids. He was. My daddy was the same way. My daddy was married to my mama for 35 years, and he had a whole family around the corner.
My thing is this. I've been on both sides of the fence. I've been in committed, monogamous relationships, and I've been a single man that kind of had, a few women when I was single. And I'm speaking from the point of a man's productivity. I'm speaking from the point of a man's success. When a man dilutes his spirit by sleeping with multiple women, it depletes him. I speak to my brothers all the time about a quote from the book "I Win the Devil," when it says that a man can't control, his, certain appetites. He shall find poverty, all the days of his life. So I'm going back to the energy of a man. And this is the thing. I've spent time overseas. I've participated in different religions, and I can see how it can fix the Black community. I can see it from that standpoint, but just the mindset of the people in the West, we're not even close to even adopting that practice.
But so you speak about the Bible, and we talk about the Bible, and Coach Nazir also spoke about the Bible. And there are several examples in the Bible where men had multiple wives. We can start with Judah, Solomon, David, Gideon, Abraham. It was pretty rampant in the Bible.
It was, but throughout the Bible, you can also see where's the downfall of man. It was also his downfall.
Okay, Coach Cash, you want to jump in here before we get to break?
Man, this is rough. So at the end of the day, people mainly get married for love, commitment, and connection, right? So when we start to connect to all these different people, it's just hard to keep track of all of it. It's too much. It's like building your house on sand, building your life on a sandcastle. And to me, when you have that one ride or die that you could do life with, you go so much further. Statistics show, right? Monogamous relationships, healthier, smarter, happier, more money, all that stuff, because you're building life together. And that's it.
Well, let's build this life together and go to a commercial break and come right back on the Tammi Mac Late Show on Fox Soul.
Tammi Mac Show.
Welcome back to the Tammi Mac Late Show on Fox Soul, where tonight the business of being Black is monogamy, or not. Let's go to the soulmates, because y'all got a little something to say. First of all, Jason says monogamy is hot. Okay, who your woman then, Jason? Naparazzi Magazine says, I think we should care because our families have already been ripped apart for centuries. It's time we finally stay together to break curses. Then vice versa, I guess it's vice versa. I don't know. Somebody said 300 wives and 700 concubines. I guess when we went to the Bible. Let's see here. Therese says, that's why we all related men spreading their seed. What's up with that? Oh, we all relate men to spreading their seeds. What's up with that? Okay. Yes, we got to see more than booty and beauty. Let's not forget intelligence is sexy too. And then JOA says, now we can also talk about polygamy marriages. Many men, particularly in the Muslim religion, Veronica says monogamy is key. I like what Soul referenced. It impacts several aspects of your life: mental, physical, spiritual. Yes, the choice is key. And then Jason, I think, is asking me, you don't have 15 minutes for sex, Smack? That's whack. Every day though? Come on now, dude. I can give you a good hour twice a week. Yet Blessed says Solomon was a king and all those women made him turn away from God. That's what Soul was referencing. Empress Divine says, stats state they are more women than men in the world. Make it make sense. Queen J says, right, King Solomon had many wives and concubines. Why did all of that change? And then C.M. Williams, I like what he says. He says, nothing lasts forever. And I think, Jasmine, that's kind of your take on this whole thing, right?
Well, it's not so much that nothing lasts forever. I think it is a decision that you have to make when you're in a relationship, right? Because true, you cite the Bible, you could cite fairy tales, you could cite books, but the stats don't lie. 50% of marriages end in divorce, and at least 40 some odd percent of that is because of infidelity. I know a lot of people. I spend a lot of time around a lot of dudes, and the majority of them, dare I say all, are not faithful. Right? But they still been married 30, 40 years. And most of the people, especially when I speak to their wives, they're basically like, just don't is good. Our family is good. We have a great future together. That's the only thing I care about.
You know what?
Is that Joe song? I don't want to know if you playing me. Keep it on the low.
I'm just saying. And listen, full disclosure now and transparency. I've never been married, and I can't prove a negative. But I first of all, I would only want to marry somebody who's been married before. That way, I know at least they're willing to do it again, right? The other thing is, I do not want my husband to be out, gallivanting and sleeping everywhere. But if he does, I don't want to know about it. I also don't want him to bring anything home to me, including babies. I don't want any of that. But if he is not faithful in my mind, I don't know if that's grounds for divorce for me. It depends on how good everything else is working. Now, that's just me. And I know I'm on an island all by myself, and I'm all right with that.
I don't think you are. But Coach Cass, Jasmine makes a very good point when she says that at least 51% of marriages end in divorce. You talk about how these marriages create healthy relationships and produce healthy children. And does monogamy really do that? Or does it just piss people off?
They say that kids raised in a household with two parents that love them, they grow up better. Right now, keeping those marriages together, what Jasmine was saying is right. It's the decision. And a lot of people are flawed in that decision. What happens? People let themselves go. So they're not as sexy, or maybe they're not doing things as much as they used to do. People start to tit for tat in a marriage, and that's how it usually falls apart, because you weren't the person got married. I'm specifically thinking of one situation that goes back to what Jasmine was saying, of a married couple that I know, and the husband stepped out, but the wife actually forgave him because she was like, you know what? After all the time I put into this relationship, after all I've been through, I'm not just going to give you to somebody else. We're going to work this out. So at the end of the day, it really is a decision when it comes to monogamy, and not everybody's up for that decision.
So then, Coach Nazir, why is it that men or women can't be honest about this? Why can't they just say, hey, look, I'm all about.
Even in tonight's discussion. All right. Polygyny, just to get some definitions, because words are important. Polygyny means a man or husband who has multiple wives. Polyamory means people that have multiple lovers. Polyandry means a wife who has multiple husbands. So we're talking about marriage. So when you say just sleeping around here, sleeping around there, no. The same things that are required in a monogamous marriage. So, and my wife joke, they say, you know what? I'm monogamously married to him. He's monogamously married to two women. So the same thing when it comes to growth, love, and connection, is every man capable of such a thing? No. But when we're hearing about, my grandfather cheated, cheating is far more acceptable. As you heard just here, I know he does this and sleeps around, far more acceptable. But polygyny, you have to understand, monogamy protects the man. It doesn't protect the woman, it protects the man. It allows us to have a fairy tale, a knight in shining armor, or this is my life. But what it does is say, you have one legal wife, and anything that comes from that wife, you're responsible for. Anyone else is called a bastard, or they're called home wreckers and everything else, because the man stepped out against moral behavior, regardless whether or not you follow a type of religion. So when we talk about Jesse Jackson or Jimmy Swaggart, Bill Clinton, Jay-Z, or the anti-polygamy guy that was just exposed, Derek Jackson, with his whole situation. See, polygyny requires a man who desires to actually practice polygyny healthily for a family to be more. Meaning that, you have to have that open, honest conversation. But when polygyny is actually, if that's something that's normalized in the discussion, it requires more from a man. It requires you to be upfront. It requires you to provide and to protect for multiple families. This is not some sleeping around sexual thing. That's polyamory. We have that already. The country, we already practice polygamy. right? You can have unlimited girlfriends, unlimited boyfriends. That is a form of polygamy, unrestricted or unrestricted polyamory. See, marriage or polygyny is a contract. It's taking care of your family. All of the children from this union know who their daddy is.
You know,
okay?
I can say
they
this.
don't have to go on a show and take DNA tests, but it requires more of a man. Therefore, you can have the Derek Jacksons that say all of this stuff, talking against monogamy, black men don't cheat, yada, yada, yada. Next thing you know, we're finding out you're having illicit relationships with many different women, and they're even having abortions, and it actually destroys our community that much more. So it's great to have a fantasy, but the reality is different.
But taking sex completely off the table, it's never been my fantasy to have multiple women. Like it's too hard to manage. Like I'm doing too much stuff. You know, I barely have time for one woman. So if one woman is in my life, she has to be in that seat, and that's it. I don't have time for more.
No, that's good for you. That's good for you. Maybe you have to work on time management better, do entrepreneurship, create passive income.
No, I would just rather put that
it
energy
could just be a little
toward
different,
being more
individual and
productive than
anecdotally
women.
speaking.
You know,
Sonia, I want to ask you, Sonia. I want to ask you because Coach Nazir talked about cheating is okay, but being polyamorous or in a polygamous relationship is not. Why is that? Why are people quick to repair relationships that have infidelity versus just being honest up front and having a relationship that includes more than one partner?
You read my mind. I wanted to chime into that point. And here's a short story. My grandmother, God bless her soul, she fell in love with one of my boyfriends. And I came home from college one day and I told her, no, fell in love like she likes him a lot, right?
Oh, okay. Okay. You almost scholarship pranked me with that one. I was like, oh Lord, grandma done fell in love with the man.
She really liked him a lot. And I came home like a semester later and said, yeah, such and such and I broke up. And she goes, why? I said, well, I don't like him anymore. Well, he don't beat you. He gives you little money. He takes care every now and again. Don't he hug you? So I'm laughing because that's my grandma. But the other part of that is kind of sad. Yeah. To answer that, it's like, what's the standards for women? So a man can do what a man can do. Anybody can do whatever they want to do. It's your prerogative. But it takes a woman to say, these are my boundaries. This is what I put up with. This is my standard of living. This is who I want to be. This is my lifestyle. And if you don't like it, kick rocks. You can actually hang out with, Sandy and Mary and everybody else. But this is what I want for my life. So it's a personal choice.
Yeah, I remember when my cousin got married and she said to me, I said, well, congratulations. I'm glad you found somebody, because she'd been through a couple of rough relationships. And she said, yeah, well, I got me a good man now. He don't even beat me or nothing. And I was like, okay, yeah, the standards pretty mid-range there, pretty mid-range when we happy he ain't putting hands on us. Coach Cass, I saw you trying to reach in there. Speaking of hands, I saw you trying to get in, so go ahead.
So Sonia's story reminded me of when I first had my daughter. Day 3, my grandmother and my mother looked at my husband and said, you're still here. I said, what do you mean he's still here? Where was he supposed to go? The Jamaican mindset was, he'd be out at the bar, he'd be out in the street. It's like, I had a baby 3 days ago. So I really think there needs to be a conversation about raising the standard for our men, because even when they go to school, it's like they're just happy that there's a man there dropping the child off. It's like the standard really isn't that high for men. But for women on the other side, we're supposed to take care of the house, do all the things. And I think that's what gets stressful in most of these relationships. So I can see part of Coach Nazir, because now you got plenty of people in the house to help out, right? And then I see on the other side, in terms of monogamy, having those folks that you decide to do life with, that sometimes you have those ups and downs and those questions.
We're going to take a quick break, come back with more of those questions on the Tammi Mac Late Show on Fox Soul.
Tammi Mac Show.
Welcome back to the Tammi Mac Late Show on Fox Soul. Tonight, the business of being Black is, are men really meant to be monogamous? Please welcome digital content creator Soul, relationship coach and matchmaker Coach Cass, media personality and co-host of DL Hughley Uncut, Jasmine Sanders, astrologer, author, and Essence magazine columnist Sonia Marie is with us today, and polygamy and relationship coach, Coach Nazir. So our chat room is hot to death. First of all,
Thank you. Daisha, the girl who does my hair.
One of our soulmates says Solomon was stressed out. I love that comment. Unbiased Cowboy says Immortal Minds is the best in the red pill community. And then Jason says matching up with someone who has the same means. Empress Divine says exactly. Thank you, sis. I'm not sure which sis she's referring to. Empress Divine says, my dad has 4 wives and he is doing very well. He is also my best friend. CM Williams says, the Bible has been tampered with. And then Mono Creek says, great topic, Tammy. Well, thank you so much. The colonizer came in and pushed monogamy to break the black rule. That I have read was a big favor. I guess that's, sometimes they be typing and, but anyway, I love the comment because it talks about the colonizer. So I want to move the conversation a little bit to Nick Cannon, who when doing an interview with the Breakfast Club said that he doesn't subscribe to monogamy. And he went on to say that that's a Eurocentric concept. When you think about the idea, you're supposed to have this one person for the rest of your life and really just to classify property when you think about it. I don't have ownership of any of these mothers. We create families in the sense of we created a beautiful entity. Anybody want to go on that one?
He says that after Mariah Carey done broke his heart, right?
That
Before
part.
He had
That
Mariah
part.
tattooed across his back, right? He
Correct.
said, this is the one woman I ever wanted. This is my family. But when that relationship went to hell in a handbasket, then he's like, okay, well, now I have options. I got money. To earth with a whole bunch of pretty girls. That's what that is.
And to piggyback on that, Coach Cass, he also did an interview where he was very candid and saying, listen, I've just decided I'm not good at that. And so I tried it. It didn't work for me. And so now all of a sudden you want to throw in the Bible and the Eurocentric, this, that, and the other. The truth of the matter is he got hurt. He figured it wasn't for him because it wasn't working out. And like you said, decided, well, hey, maybe I'll just have a lot of kids.
I'm a fan of Nick, but you have to look at the damage he's doing. I mean, we talk about single mothers raising sons all the time. He can't be in all places at all times. So at the end of the day, he's doing damage to young men that are growing up without the father in the household.
I don't know because I don't know Nick Cannon. I don't know how much time. I know he's got enough money that he could fly around and spend as much time with each of them if he wanted to, or fly them in to spend time with him. I'm not in his personal life, so I'm not going to nail him to the cross because I don't know exactly what's going on in his household. But I think just because you're not there 100% of the time doesn't mean that you're not being a good father.
To love monogamy and I'm not into Nick's life neither, Jazz, but I will say this though, I get tired of people trying to find reasons and rationale for wanting them to do whatever it is that they want to do. When you start putting the Bible on things, when you start putting laws on things, and it's like, you just want to have sex, just say you just want
say that.
At some point, it's like the realer you are, in my opinion, the better off your life will be for your children and everybody else involved. That's how I feel anyway, because children can sniff out lies, your wives can definitely sniff out the lies. And if you come to a situation with the truth, then you can handle the truth and you can conduct your life accordingly. I mean, it's not for everybody, but I mean, be real about it.
Preach.
Now I have a boyfriend, and I mean boyfriend in the real sense. He's a friend who's a boy, a male friend who suggests that the reason why he wants to just date multiple women is because each one of them brings something different to him. And in order for him to get everything that he wants, he has to date these different women to make it happen. What are your thoughts on that, Soul?
I think he's right. But you have to understand, when a man can't find one woman to check all the boxes, when a man is in a position where he has to entertain multiple women to get different energies, it's all about that man needing to raise his own standard, raise his own energy. Because once a man steps into that highest version of himself, then he can see that rare woman that'll check all boxes.
Oh, wow. Coach Nazir?
No, again, that goes back to even dating, like you mentioned. So, you date multiple women and stuff like that. And you agree that you find these different things with women. Well, we're humans. No man also checks all the boxes either, calling everything. I mean, it is what it is, right? But it goes, again, you have a Janet Jackson. A fantasy woman. I grew up loving Janet. It was a Janet Whitney thing, right? Well, I mean, Janet practiced polygamy. She was a fourth wife of someone for about 5 years. Had his baby at 50. So now we're saying, okay, well, Janet is lacking in something.
I did not know she was a fourth wife.
He was a fourth wife for 5 years.
Well, I missed that memo. No.
Movement during the break.
Because she's rich. She hides that stuff.
Yeah, but again, look at her being rich, right? Then you have the Beyonce.
I was today years
They cheated
old when
on
I
her.
found out. I interviewed Janet Jackson twice.
Then you knew she wasn't going to tell you her business.
Yeah, you know,
She's a
again, it's not
Jackson.
something that this is what we're talking about like that.
Yeah.
Check it out.
But
I
you
mean,
know,
get those
it-
details. But then you have somebody like Akon, for example, right?
We're not
He practiced
lying on
polygamy.
Janet Jackson, are we, Coach Nazir?
Not at all. Not at all. I mean, it's well known, of course, amongst Muslims and those who were in the Mideast where she was living at the time and everything. And there were the rumors about had she become Muslim because how she was dressed when she
That's
was
true.
pregnant, but she was pregnant by her husband and she was his fourth wife. He's a multi-billionaire. So, you know, it is what it is.
So
But when
is
we think-
monogamy natural for human beings, or is it a social construct?
It's the cost of sex. Like even talking about colonizer, we brought the colonizer up. Well, Dr. Nancy Cott, she made this book called Public Vows, where she described monogamy is white supremacy's pinnacle in trying to brand itself as different from the rest of the world. Now, I'm not a Harvard professor, didn't look into a whole bunch of research, but the book is an excellent book. That's why one of the reasons, I mean, I'm traveling internationally right now, so that's actually sunshine behind me. But the US is still stuck on the imperial system. So inches and pounds trying to be unique and different from the world. Monogamy is a relatively new construct. Again, that doesn't mean you can't have girlfriends, boyfriends, mistresses. It just means you have one legal wife and can do whatever else you want to do. Whereas polygyny as a form of marriage does not require. That means if you want to marry more, you must be responsible for your pleasures, like Akon. So we look at men like Akon, even though LeBron James, people who seem to have good social skills, tend to be good leaders, and they're also married and good for the community. Well, what if they wanted to build extra, more families and want to marry again? Now, again, I'm a believer people can do whatever it is they want to do. But until we have this discussion on what's ravaging our community, the Nick Cannons, having a baby does not create a family. So that thinking is weird to me, because as a father and as a husband, there are responsibilities that you have. It's good he finally came. Men are not only interested or intrigued. Some say, you know what? The cost of sex is easy for me. If I just want some, I can get some. I don't want to take care of a whole family. And it's that type of thing that destroys our community. Because in polygyny,
Here's the
I
other
want to
thing
take
to
it
be
here. I'm
very
sorry. Go
clear
ahead,
about.
Jasmine. Go ahead,
The
Jasmine.
thing to be very clear about is you're not going to make anybody do what they don't want to. Monogamy is a decision that you make, and it's made based on how you feel about somebody. So you can day one marry somebody and pledge your life and love to them and your soul before God and your whole family and friends, and 15 years later you're cheating. That's a decision that you made. You can say I'm going to be monogamous, but you don't know. I think it's a decision that both parties make. You go into it. Are people perfect? No. Do you hope to be monogamous? For the most part, yes. Does it always work out that way? No. And does that always end in divorce? It does not. I know plenty of people who've cheated and are still married. Some people are like, you know what? I'm not going to allow that to blow up my marriage. You say you love me, you still honor this family. Well, honor it very loosely, but you take care of this family and provide for us. For a lot of women that I know, that's enough. And I think that's a decision they make for their household. I'm not going to condemn that.
Yeah, I think when I was younger, I was like, oh, no, I never have a man to cheat on me. I don't want him. I'm a little older now. I'm a little wiser. And I don't think cheating is a deal breaker for me either. I'm not necessarily sure how I even arrived at that. But I'm just too tired now. Like, I don't even want to fight anymore.
You live a little bit, and your perspective changes about what is important to you. I think that's what happens. I think you grow up, at least I did, reading these books and these fairy tales about how this, guy on
Happily
a
ever
white
after
horse was going to save me, and then he was going to live with me forever, and we'd be happily ever after. After a gazillion heartbreaks, I realized that ain't gonna happen.
So here's something
I want
think
to, let's take a quick break before we're going to come back to you, Coach Cass. We got to take a break. But when we come back, Coach Nazir brought up having babies doesn't equate to family and doesn't equate to anything relationships. Like, I want to know what the difference is and why we approve of one and don't approve of another. I don't know. We'll talk about it when we return on the Tammi Mac Late Show on Fox Soul.
Tammi Mac.
Welcome back to the Tammi Mac Late Show on Fox Soul. Tonight, the business of being Black is, are men really meant to be monogamous? Please welcome digital content creator, soul, relationship coach, and matchmaker, Coach Cass, media personality and co-host of DL Hughley Uncut, Jasmine Sanders, astrologer, author, and Essence magazine columnist, Sonia Marie is with us, and polygyny and relationship coach, Coach Nazir. Thank you all for being here. So Coach Cass, before we left, you wanted to get in on some action. So let me let you get in on some action, and then I'll go to our soulmates because they want to get in too.
So Jasmine was saying that after 15 years, someone was, the relationship was coming to an end, or someone cheated, things weren't the same. I think the problem is that people plan for a wedding day and they don't plan for a marriage. So then they just expect it to automatically happen. And a lot of us are personal, professional development junkies, but we forget to pour that into our relationships. So being able to do therapy, right? In the Black community, we got to talk more about the therapy and doing those tune-ups every year, going to marriage conferences. It's like you have to make this a well-oiled machine and not put your relationship on auto. I think that's the real reason why people end up cheating and all the things, because you don't communicate, you're resentful, things are happening and you're not on the same page. But I think that there could be a lot more monogamous relationships that are happy and healthy and thriving if they did the things continuously to pour into that relationship and water it for it to grow.
Yeah. Bo L says, can I have 4 husbands if my husband has 4 wives?
Yeah.
Oh, Lord. That's a lot of people.
Therese is actually agreeing with Soul when Soul said that Nick Cannon can't be taking care of them children because he has too many other situations going on in his life. Therese says Nick Cannon has several jobs. He highlighted that. Several jobs. There are only 24 hours in a day. How much time can he really be spending with his kids? Well, we know he's spending time. That part. Let's see. NBA Artina, be just more willing to let it go, but we can still feel the hurt. Not all polyamorous relationships are based on sex or sexual or are sexual. Let's talk about how we seem to be cool as a community when we have baby, to be a baby daddy versus in a polygamous relationship. I don't know that there's actually a survey that said we're cool with it, but it seems to be happening. And as a Black community, we seem to, keep making it happen. So that to me suggests that we're okay with it.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
In my opinion, the breakdown is a lot deeper than that. I mean, and because I do what I do as an astrologer and as a healer and as an intuitive person, I see first and foremost that there are just a lot of broken people that don't understand their worth, that don't understand the beauty and the magic when it comes to relating to people and with people and for each other. Are we okay with baby daddies? Heck no. No, not at all. We get caught. We get trapped in situations that we have a hard time, in my opinion, backing up out of, and we become irresponsible in a lot of ways. I don't think it's something that will ever be accepted. We just need to start healing ourselves so those mistakes don't happen as frequently.
So?
The thing is, we aren't seeing the cycles. See, we have a lot of people that are on the side of Nick Cannon or what he's doing, but we don't understand that these young men are going to grow up not having any idea on what fatherhood looks like, what manhood looks like. And these are going to be the same guys making the decisions on bringing wives into their lives. And all roads are going to lead to the decisions that men make, right? This culture is telling men to choose a woman based on how thick she is, how her nails and her hair looks. It's all about attraction as opposed to connection right now. It's all about the physical, and we're just disregarding the frequency. And that's why a man that lives like that, that's why he needs a wife, needs several women, because he's not connecting with that one. And any man that needs more than one woman is just like, you need to check yourself first and then check the woman that you're with.
Yeah, y'all were talking about how Nick is not over Mariah, but I remember when Nick proposed to that Victoria's Secret model back in the day. I really feel like that's where his heart hurt the most, that Victoria's Secret model he proposed to, and the wedding never happened. So I always thought Nick Cannon was a marrying kind, but you're right, Jasmine. He was kind of like, yeah, I'm not good at this. Let me just go and spread my seed. Right. Can you be in a polygamous relationship and not procreate? Jasmine, we're going to give it to you.
Listen, I think you can procreate in whatever relationship you have consented to be in, right? Everyone keeps throwing up Nick Cannon's situation. Nick Cannon didn't make that decision by himself. It was him and a female who knew what he had done prior to her, and she still was okay with it. Now, whether it was because of economics or whether it was because she thought she could, keep him, I don't know. I think whatever it is that me, two schools of thought. Number one, I don't buy into the whole thing where women are sitting around waiting to be chosen by a man when he's ready to settle down. Because I believe men don't really get ready to settle down. I think they just run out of steam. That's just the truth. And this whole thing about, whether or not you are this or that, I think ultimately men go after whatever it is they feel like going after. And I think a lot of it depends on where they are economically. A lot of rich guys believe that they can have multiple women, and they believe women will be okay with that because they know that he or she is rich, right? The other thing is we spend so much time on social media, hashtag relationship goals, hashtag this or that. And typically the picture is of someone who is elderly, right? Someone like my grandparents who were married for 75 years. But the thing you don't know about that when you're hashtagging relationship goals is that my grandfather cheated on my grandmother a lot. She decided, I'm okay with that. I'm going to stay in this relationship as long as he's not disrespectful to me, as long as he's not bringing his chicks or whoever they are around, and I don't know about it. You keep me happy. You take care of these kids. You make sure we go to church on Sunday, whatever that means, and make sure that we're okay, and I'm here. And they were married for 75 years. So we always reflect back to how things used to be, when the truth of the matter is cheating has always been around. You throw up the Bible. There's so many discrepancies in the Bible. I would never even use that as my justification for anything. I look at real life experience. I look at situations like my parents, my friends' parents, and my grandparents and things like that. And I'm like, listen, they were fine.
Jasmine, don't go there, girl. Where don't you want her to go? Next, can we talk about that?
Yeah, 16 kids.
I'm not sure how many. Arthur Eric Anderson conducted a small study of 120 undergraduate men. According to his findings, 78% of those who had a partner who cheated, even though they said that they loved and intended to stay with their partner, contrary to what we think, most men aren't cheating because they don't love their partner. They cheat because they just want to have sex with other people.
Period.
Is that the deal?
I mean, you just said they were undergraduate students, right?
Yeah.
There you go right there. I mean, when you're in college, I mean, honestly, should we be given a moment to sow the wild oats, so to speak? And I say yes, absolutely yes.
Absolutely.
Yes, like in college and slightly beyond. I honestly don't think we're really ready, so to speak. As an astrologer, we believe like after 28, 30 years, when you reach a point where Saturn returns and all your challenges and fears are like right in your face, and you see your personal challenges that you decided for this time around, this lifetime around, you don't necessarily know who you are, so to speak. And you're still building that adult within you in your undergrad experience. So I just wanted to chime in.
But Sonia Marie, let me ask you this. Why is it okay that men are applauded for sowing their wild oats, right? They get to date around to find out what they like, so that, as one of the other panelists said, so they can decide what this girl has that they like or what that one has. But when women do that, it's frowned upon. And my thing is, okay, well, why couldn't I date until I find out what
I think
exactly
Cardi
I
B
want?
and Meg the Stallion and a whole lot of other rap artists are changing that theory for sure. We're going to take a quick break, come right back, find out what our panelists are up to when we get back to the Tammi Mac Late Show on Fox Soul. Welcome back to the Tammi Mac Late Show on Fox Soul. So I want to ask this question to each of you. Can you be in love with more than one person, Coach Cass?
I think you could like multiple people, but I actually think in love is not a thing. I think you could love multiple people, you could like multiple people, and then you can commit to one person. That's what I think.
Coach Nazir, your thoughts on that?
Absolutely. I mean, I've been married to my high school sweetheart for 26 years now. And for the last 11 years practicing polygyny, I've been married to my second wife. But I also have 10 children. I love all of them as well. So my love didn't diminish every time there's a birth of another child. I think love is expansive, not constricting.
Oh, that's an interesting point. You can love all of your children equally. Why couldn't you be able to love partners equally? That's quite an interesting statement to me. Sonia, I know you feel differently about that, huh?
No, I actually agree. I think that love is just energetic, it's vibration. And yeah, it can expand through a number of people's hearts. However, there comes a point where you have to be responsible for the type of love that you are administering to certain people, but whether it be a child or a couple of wives or a couple of husbands or whatever the case may be. It's called responsibility and maturity, in my opinion.
So can you be in love with more than one person?
I would say you can definitely be in love with more than one person. Any woman that's been in my life, in a serious manner, I still have that love for her. Even if we don't talk anymore, I still have that love. So yes, I would say, of course.
Interesting. Do you believe, Coach Nazir, can your wives have more husbands? Well, of course, the Wi-Fi would mess up on that question. We all wanted to know the answer to that one. And the Wi-Fi just was like, we're not going to let you win today, Tammi Mac. Not today. Coach Cass. Coach Nazir, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. What was the question?
The question was, can your wives have more than one husband?
Actually, they did a video on YouTube about that, whether or not they want more than one husband and responsibilities that are with that. You know what I'm saying? Do you want to really cook for more than one family or one husband or deal with the testosterone and everything else that goes along with that? I mean, the cost of sex for women is far higher than it is for men. So when we talk about the nature of women in general and being more emotional when it comes to sexual exploits or infidelity, they talk about there was an emotional connection versus just a physical thing as men. We're humans, but we're different. We're not the same.
But
so they did an entire video about that.
Can they if they wanted
to? If they chose something like that, we just work together.
I can answer that. A woman can't have more than one husband.
I said, can they if they wanted to?
No, not at all.
Okay.
We wouldn't be together still, no. We're all together consensually. So no, that wouldn't work.
So what is the mission behind Immortal Minds?
The mission behind Immortal Minds is just to make every man better. My ultimate goal is to...
What is word life astrology?
Word life astrology, erected from Yonkers, New York. Word life, word up. Yes, it's the truth of astrology, in my opinion. Allowing yourself to heal from the inside out using the wonderful, wonderful, illustrious universe.
And talk about your book real quick, please.
Oh, my book, The Signs, an Astrological Memoir, is talking about the 12 sun signs, and there are stories that relate to each sun sign within my life that I show how the energy shows.
Yes. What is Inspire Many?
So Inspire Many is an overarching organization where I help women in their love lives. I have the Real Love Network, which is the community where I support professional women over the age of 35 in terms of how to choose the one. Yes, all about monogamy, about choosing the one that's really the one that God has for you.
Have you been successful?
Yes.
Because that's what the women want to know. Coach Nazir, what can you tell us about outstanding personal relationships?
Outstanding personal relationship is where my wives and I teach people how to develop joyful, fulfilling relationships while focusing on growth, love, and connection. Irrespective if you practice monogamy or polygyny, where we really shine a spotlight on man's natural form of marriage and requiring him to raise his standards to become more, especially in our community that's suffering so much. And our book, Let's Talk Polygyny Uncensored, is also due to be released next month.
Congratulations. So Jasmine had some technical difficulties, but you can hear her every night or every afternoon on the D.L. Hughley Show, D.L. Hughley Uncut. But she also has her own podcast, Don't Tell Me to Shut Up. I'm sure both Jasmine and I have had issues with folk telling us to shut up all of our lives. So I feel that podcast 100%. I want to ask a question to each of you before we walk away. What is your advice? What would you tell someone about falling in love? What would you tell someone about falling in love in one word, in just one word, Soul?
Well, I can't say it in one word, but a man should never fall in love, because to fall in love is to put source over everything.
Oh, wow. Okay. Coach Cass?
I'm not into falling in love. It's more about making a decision.
It's interesting. That's so interesting. What, Sonia?
I would say love yourself so much where you have this party that's going on around you and you invite people to join your party of love.
All right. And Coach Nazir, are you there?
Yes, I hope so.
Okay.
Love yourself first. And of course, authenticity will be the word I would say.
I love it. Thank you all for being on the Tammi Mac Late Show. Thank Jasmine Sanders, Coach Cass, Sonia, it's a pleasure to meet you, and Soul, and Coach Nazir. Until next time, everybody, it truly is a blessing to be in your box on the Tammi Mac Late Show on Fox Soul. Bye, y'all.